Ohio.
Yeah.
We started a little early today. Hello, everybody. We have a lot of club business to discuss, and we have a wonderful speaker, so I just wanted to get started a couple minutes early. Gosh, I didn't put anybody on the spot, so I don't know if we have any volunteers for a prayer, or if we should just say the Lord's Prayer.
Hey, I got this one.
I think we're gonna volunteer.
I just wanted to share, my daughter, who some of you know, is an ordained minister. She's out in the great state of Iowa. Anyway, she did the last 3 weeks a series on the Lord's Prayer. And she had one that she had a congregation use each Sunday morning, and it was written by the Dominican sisters. So I just wanted to share with you because it's a little bit different, but it gives you something to think about. So let us pray. Wait, I can take a drink. Add the waffle off the
Negotiating for all the rest of the food.
Okay, let's pray. Our Father, our Mother, who art in heaven, who are in all the earth, hallowed be your name. Holy is your truth. Your kingdom come, may your wisdom come. Thy will be done on earth. Your circle in one united, as it is in heaven, heaven and earth. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us today a nurturing spirit, and forgive us our trespasses. Heal through us as we forgive those who trespass against us, that ourselves be healed. Lead us not into temptation. Lead us into fullness of life, but deliver us from evil and liberate all that is good. For thine is the kingdom, for thine is the wisdom, the power, and the glory. Presence and goodness are yours, now and forever. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And would you join us in the four-way test back there? Sad Linda. First, is it the truth?
Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendship? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. So, Sharon shared this with me a couple days ago, and then Sarah Wood, who was one of our members who was unable to make it here today, reached out to me and wanted to share this with the group. So, John Marshall High School, they created 5 food boxes. So these are very, very similar to those little lending libraries that we want to put down at the riverfront in Grandview. But they built 5 of these and they placed them all around the community. And these are to give free fooding options to anybody in need in the community. Well, they had asked for 5 organizations to take over ownership or filling these food boxes. And there's still 2 available. There's one at the East End and one down at the riverfront. And Sarah asked if we wanted to, as Rotary, take over one of these food donation boxes. I thought this was a lovely idea, and it goes so well with if we put a lending library in at the riverfront. We're already going to be checking on that and supplying that with books. So I think it would be a fantastic idea if our club was to choose one of these. The riverfront would kind of work better because we're going to be down there monitoring our lending library box. What I was kind of thinking, if this is something that the club wants to do, is we could just take one a week, one person to go down and just check on it, fill it up and stuff like that. We can provide donations here at the club meetings anytime anybody has any non-perishable goods they want to bring in, and then we can have a little supply so we're not running out and shopping constantly. But I'm sure that that all being said, that if we did need to purchase anything for these boxes, that would all be club supported. You know, I wouldn't expect anybody to go out and spend their own personal money. Is that something our club wants to do? Any suggestions, comments?
I would make a motion. At the riverfront.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Awesome, I'm so excited.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
Is it just gonna be, I'm so sorry, I took a little like, because I know like I do this like with junior league, like in dealing and everything, and it's very similar. We also stock it though full of like shampoo, conditioner, stuff like that. Is that something we want to do as well with it, or just food?
So I can reach out to Sarah, and I kind of want to follow whatever the school had intended
Okay,
for
that's
it.
fine. Yeah, I just want to make sure like it wasn't like everything or just.
That's a great question though,
Okay.
because I was just, well, there's like, you know, what, it looks like a pretty good sized box.
Yeah.
I feel like hygiene products are just as necessary. So let me reach out and find out, but that's a great thought about that.
President Ashley,
Yeah.
since you did such a good job of listing our community service projects on that lovely flyer, could you add this to it?
Sure.
Thanks. Here is, I don't know if you have seen the picture of that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so really just food, but that's fine. Yeah, just.
I wanted to share something, I'm not sure how many people are. Sharon goes to my sister yesterday about it, but Josh had a fire in his home on Wednesday night. About 6:30. It was in their basement area, it was an electrical issue. Everybody's fine, everyone's safe. I don't know a whole lot more in detail, I don't know if you knew about it, but they are not in the home because they've got to get it all taken care of.
From what I found out, his daughter plays softball with my niece, so I reached out to my family to find out a little bit more information. The house is repairable. Obviously, it's gonna take some time. They will be displaced. I think at this time, they're thinking about 3 to 4 months, they're gonna be displaced. So probably about 6, yeah. They are currently in a cabin at Ogilvy. I think that's short term, but they're going to be moving into I think it's an apartment, I'm not sure, house or apartment, that is gonna allow them to just go month by month. So they are gonna have a permanent residency until they get back to their house. Online, on Facebook, there is a meal train going on right now. The club did donate $100, and I know a bunch of club members did donate to that as well, but I think that they have meals all the way up till like mid-March. But if somebody wanted to donate a meal that way, I did reach out to him and just say that Rotary supports anything that we can help you with, is there any other needs? I'm glad that you brought that up, because I wanted our club to
I
know.
talked to him on Thursday, and it was very brief, and it was through a text, but I said, please. Of course, I just thought, oh, you know, if I can get you through a few days or whatever, you know, like, let me know. I didn't see the thing
Yeah, I
on
didn't either
Facebook.
though. What's it under, do you? I couldn't find it. I looked.
I'm friends with his wife, who
I am
is,
too.
that's how I saw it. Somebody posted it on her Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if I'm available to share it. Do you think I should share it on our Moundsville Rotary page, probably?
Yeah.
I was so like, I wasn't sure how, I didn't want to step on any toes or do, because when I saw it, you know, I immediately donated to the club, and then some other people reached out and donated. But then his wife made a post saying, everybody's safe, insurance is gonna cover everything, we have all of our needs covered, you know, thank you so much for the outpouring above. But I feel like it's one of those things that anything can still help them, you know, so I'll be sure to share that on our Rotary page.
I just don't know if they were able to close out after.
They did, and insurance is covering all of them, so they take them all to the dry cleaner. They're taking them like weekly, and they're going rounds, and insurance is covering it, and they're getting, you know, some stuff back. A lot of smoke,
I've been through a fire before, and there's nothing more. Like, even if it's not damaged, it takes so long.
in water, in smoke and water, like everywhere, obviously.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm thrilled, thank you, Joni, because I wanted to discuss that today too. Share that on the Rotary page, probably as soon as the meeting's over, so if you wanted to take a look there for it. A little bit brighter note, and thank God everybody's okay. That was the one I found out, and it was sad because his 15-year-old daughter Riley was home alone and smelled the smoke and was smart enough to grab the cat and get out of the house and then call for help. So,
That was just about to ask if anybody was in town.
yeah. So thank God everybody's safe.
And it
though.
was at 6:30. which was a good time.
That it was in the middle of the night or something. So on a little bit lighter note, today is Rotary's birthday. Happy birthday, Rotary. 116 years we have been moving forward. I thought you were gonna stand up and sing happy birthday.
I think we should.
But no, it's just exciting to know that this club was formed in 1905 and is still holding strong and growing and making such an impact everywhere. And look at our club, how much we've grown over the years and what we're able to do. So such a beautiful thing. Was just wanting to discuss briefly, I know we talked about, and we're going to go for one of the food libraries or food boxes. Do we have any updates on the Lending Library, Eagle Scouts, any help that way? I want to move forward with this because I really would love to have these in place by spring, which is right around the corner. I will just put my husband on the spot and say that he's gonna build one. I don't know how. We'll figure it out. Is there anybody else in our club that we know that could possibly build one?
He didn't go back to work yet, so.
Okay.
Unless you give the call between now and when I go home.
Okay. And you and me can discuss, you know, how we want to move forward with that, but I just want to get that in motion. Really? Because my husband is not crafty, but I would probably build it.
I mean, I could do it very fancy. And I also have a bunch of books that I was in our employee room.
That is awesome. Keep a hold of those because we'll definitely fill them up. I'll reach out to you as well and
Yeah, maybe if we could get dimensions, what they normally are.
yeah, and I feel
Something.
like they're kind of all a little different. I've seen round ones, I've seen square ones, I've seen ones with 4 posts, 1 post in the center to hold it down. So I think it's kind of like what your supplies are and what you feel comfortable building. They do not have to be the same, but the 3 of us will work together. Thank you so much. So just wanted to remind everybody, because wow, it's gonna be here. I feel like March is right around the corner, but Rise Against Hunger. It is March 19th. How are we coming with sponsors, volunteers? Are we?
We have a meeting tomorrow. So I'll know more. I'm concerned about volunteers because I don't think you don't have to wait for us to buy, right? I don't think that very many people have gone online to Rise Against Hunger. And I meant to bring a paper today to pass around and I forgot it. But we need to actually get people nailed down. So I know we're gonna have plenty of volunteers, but we need to have that a little bit more firm. Sponsors, we had 5,000 the last I knew of. And awesome. Bear Heritage Federal Credit Union is going to donate, but I don't know how much. So we're probably doing good on sponsors.
Great.
So, yeah, I think it's going well. We just need to get actually
Sign up committed. I feel like they're gonna be there, it's just
I
signing them up ahead of time,
yeah,
not
I
just
don't
showing
think
up.
that there'll be a problem getting,
Well, we can bring people with us, right?
Yes.
Oh, please.
Okay, good, because I signed other people up too.
I will remind you guys, I know I'm a broken record and you probably heard my story a million times, but I will remind you, if you haven't heard my story yet, so I'm here to tell you. I was invited to Rise Against Hunger, the last event that we had, and that was into 2019, right? And I didn't honestly know what Rotary was. I never heard of Rotary. I was just invited by a colleague. I went and I fell in love with the service project, meeting all the new people. I work with Brandy and Brittany, so you know, the rest is history. They invited me to come, Brittany invited me, she was the president at the time, invited me to come to me, and here I am. So that's where we're gonna find our next members is through service projects. People wanna help, we have to give them a reason to be invited.
Becky Ogo, an impact member, is from there, from Impact, or from Rise Against Hunger. That's where she first became. She worked with people, and now she's on it.
See, invite. So maybe we 3 people. I think that's a challenge. All right, so a couple things that I've been emailed. You might have been emailed, but I would always want to pass along just in case you haven't received this. So everybody should have received a email saying you've been served. And it was all capital letters, you've been served. So this is a district project for zones 33 and 34. And basically what it is it is a kickoff celebrating Rotary's birthday, and it's gonna last for a month. And it starts today, and this runs, I'm a liar, it runs through Paul Harris's birthday on Saturday, April 23rd. So it runs for 2 months. And what it is a way for us to help, and there's nothing too big or too small. So I printed off a couple of things here, and I would be happy to pass this email along to anybody. But you can go to the website and get a bunch of ideas and also upload all of your events. Like I'm gonna put Rise Against Hunger in there and a couple of other things, you know, always a need, or a couple other things that we're doing. But we don't have to think that big. So some of the suggestions they have is give a gas card to somebody at the gas station. You don't even know, it could be in need. Give away a store gift card, help somebody in need, carry groceries to their car, or open a door for somebody that has their hands full. Help somebody with their garden or yard work, help repair somebody's home. They are encouraging everybody that if you do one of these things, to share it on social media with the hashtags Rotary Serves or You've Been Served. Some other things are treat somebody to a cup of coffee. They're going through a drive-through, or if you're here at Perkins, pay for the next person's meal. Offer to help somebody that you know has a task coming up, volunteer for something. So it doesn't have to be big things. And we were on a Zoom with Patrick this morning, who is the developer of the Impact Club, and his club decided to do 31 small volunteer projects in 31 days. And it was just each member doing something small, and they all took a little bit of ownership. And one was like, I'm gonna give you a gift today, or I'm gonna buy lunch today, or I'm gonna bring flowers for my coworker. Just little things to spread cheer.
And they did it on, they signed up, but they did it on different days, so that for 31 days, people were seeing on social media that the Rotary Club did this.
So I love this idea. I think we are already doing things. We just need to share more about it. So any ideas or any comments coming with that? You know what? I will do an email and forward it to everybody.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I only went to the ship or the link.
I did do that a couple weeks ago.
And these are things that I guarantee everybody in this room is just doing out of the goodness of their heart. at the
I
grocery
see
store
her in a
doing
couple
things.
different aisles. And that she was just one, well, she ended up going outside right before I did, and I'm like, Pam, I said, can I tie your shoe? I tied her shoe.
Aw, and you know, you could have prevented her from
I'm
falling
like, oh my
down.
gosh.
That's awesome. All right, well, I will email that out to everybody. Didn't know if that was something we wanted to jump on and like all take a day or anything.
Yeah, we want to all sign up for different, I think that's a great idea, to have different days. And then that way it's on social media that many times.
And I think you choose how you want to be of service to the community. So, you know, we can have 10 people that buy somebody a cup of coffee, or 10
It
people
runs
that.
through when? When to when?
April 23rd. So it starts today all the way through April 23rd. And I'll send out that email, and then I'll just send out like maybe like days open, and you know, people can just select days or if they're available. I would encourage you, if you are selecting that day, to share it on our Moundsville Rotary Facebook page, and I'll put the hashtags in there to use. If you do not have Facebook and it's one of your days, reach out to me, let me know what you did, and I'll share it with the club.
So like, we're gonna share it with you if we don't have Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook was Randy.
Yeah, Facebook was Randy over here.
Probably like liberating those.
No, my God.
Yeah. All right, so we got all the readers, right? So we're good on that. Awesome.
Jumped off and filled in, she and I are gonna do the third grade that didn't have any pictures on Friday, they can't change.
Then, I'm not sure who all received this. This was just sent out, but wonderful Stacy joined that Rotary Empowers Girls, and that's how we found about the need, not only throughout the world, but in our local community for feminine hygiene products. Well, they're having another Zoom. This will be Thursday, March 28th. It's from 8 to 9:30 a.m. This is something that you can join if you want your video on, great. If you're busy at work, you can shut off your video. But I just wanted to let everybody know when that is. If you didn't get an email, just let me know. I can forward that to you as well. That is, yes, from 8 a.m. to 9:30. All right, is there anything else the club wants to discuss? We're gonna have a lot of sheets flying around here pretty soon. Nan, you want to discuss something else? I saw that.
The flag project. So we need to, I gave Joe Marshall the 6 days that we're going to, install the flags. I need to know the exact days so they know when to mow and when, the days we're gonna put them in and the days are gonna be taken out for each holiday.
Well, we need to put in the bases sometime too, which could be the same day or a different day. Doesn't matter. But I don't know that
They
yet.
can mow over the.
Yeah, we need to figure that out. We also, has anybody found another spot?
Oh,
Oh,
Miss Banko, Miss Banko. They have a garage, she was talking about it. Now, the only thing they were double checking on liability in those kinds of issues. But as far as we have permission, we don't go to if we have to pay a little bit for insurance or whatever.
Gosh, what the-
Just within an eye. Yeah, but
The club has insurance.
so, but we do have a unit, there's a garage. I haven't been to it, I actually drove by it. But the garage door, I mean, it looks good, but if they've got it downstairs, that was really nice.
And fix it for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I do know that we have that place. I have received all of it. I don't know how my name got to be the chairperson. You need to just let us speak.
Congratulations, Sherry.
They gave me all kinds of stuff. There's actually a 7-foot flag instead of a 10-foot. I'm not saying I watched before. The 7 comes in 3 pieces and the 10 comes in 4 pieces. The thing I'm concerned about are letters. I mean, I've got all kinds of stuff here. God bless you. I really would like to find a fundraising letter. And the samples are okay, but I guess too, what we need to think about is we want to make sure that they know that we're not selling a flag. If you say that you're selling a flag, then they believe they're getting it.
Well, the way they
So they make it a
It's a
sponsor,
subscription.
it's like a sponsorship of a flag to honor whomever your hero could be. It could be family member, it could be the nurses that run. I mean, whoever, whatever you choose. And they actually did a program, some of these people, I mean, like, they have read off the names of all the people that were there. And this packet is pretty fantastic. The other day. If they even have a program that handed out to everybody, they have shown up when you do this dedication, and you would only do it the first time, you know what I mean? And some of them even made it, that they did it like 2 times. And if you did both, say you only wanted to do the flag at one place, and you did, one time, I think that's getting too complicated. You either are sponsoring a flag,
Either or you're not.
or you're not. I think record keeping is pretty crazy there. But, anyhow, we do have a unit to store. We do not have to purchase until probably April. They need 2 weeks. So when I order, it'll be a 2 weeks off. But they do have to be put together. And then they have to put, both of them have to be done. And then by, what you start and start done. And then we talk about next weekend. And that's really good for kids to sell it.
I thought that you were cheaper for nonprofits.
Yeah, we kind of discussed
Oh, I
it.
think
It was
it's
like
like-
$200.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just do it. You will stand outside.
Oh, yeah, but we'll just go in the parking lot. I'm not a.
But here's a better idea. What some people do that don't want to pay for food, is they take information and just walk around and hand it out.
Yeah, see,
So, if we have somebody just walk around and hand it out to members. Or pass it out too. I mean, we can walk around and pass it out.
Is that frowned upon?
No.
Are you sure? Okay, I didn't.
we don't have to tell people we're from Rotary, we'll just do it. So we're in trouble, we're like, sorry.
Don't wear your Rotary
So,
shirt
yeah,
that way.
It's easier to beg forgiveness than it is to ask forgiveness. I had an idea that, man, we should answer this baby.
The chamber's here, you know.
Right?
What?
We're not hearing any. Could we do all 100 at John Marshall?
What's that?
Could we do all 100 at John Marshall?
Probably.
Rather than trying to find another place, what are we trying for? Because we're afraid of.
There was a concern with the hillside being as steep as it is at the park.
I actually think I'm.
Yeah, no,
And I was honestly gonna just drive up Route 2 and try to find other
I have
spots.
looked.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of like grass areas.
And then we're perfectly flat. And then
Right.
it also said that if somebody, the nice thing about the morning first lunch at school, that they could actually pull in there and take pictures because it is a parking lot
Yeah.
area. You know
Well,
what I
what
mean?
is stress that it can't be on the dog?
So what's the space for one? Is it 10 foot?
Well, one of them said 6 feet, one of them said 10 feet
I know, but the space that you have
Around it.
to,
around it. Like, so the flag can blow.
like the next, where can the next one go? If I
Five
put one
to 6
here-
feet, 5 to 6 feet apart from one.
Okay, is there enough room? We have to watch too, because how close you are to the road.
Oh,
So
that's
we
right.
Yeah.
The,
We'll have to find that
Department of
out.
Highways.
You're
have
right,
problems
right
with
away is
those
6 feet or
areas.
something.
Maybe 10 feet back from the road.
We'll find out.
We've lost a lot of grass. from the parking lot.
Surely they would fit. Wouldn't they? I don't know. I don't have any concept of these.
I'll ask one of them. So 5 or 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
At least
I'm
6.
trying. I think it's close to 6 because the flags are 5.
Yeah, I think it's at least 6.
I'm gonna go ahead and do the drawing and then we're gonna get our speaker up here just because he dressed up so nice for us today. We're gonna give Dr. Luna plenty of time here to speak. So we have $15. The split is gonna be $7.50. I will just give the winner $8 because I don't have 50 cents on me. And Stacy, you're my lucky puller. And Cole's not here this time, so.
084. So it was right after.
Oh, right before me.
Oh, winner, chicken dinner.
There you go.
It is 6. It's 6 between you.
Now, don't you go out there and spend this all willy-nilly. Yeah.
I'll try to.
Try to keep it together. All right, well, I have the pleasure of introducing our wonderful speaker. This gentleman has been a Rotarian since 1973. That is incredible. And Dr. Luna is a retired urologist in Glendale. How many years did you practice? And we're gonna hear a lot more about it too. So please welcome Dr. Luna.
I'm
Would
going
you
to,
be so kind to introduce that beautiful woman sitting next to you?
oh, yes.
Thank you.
My wife Nancy, of course, is right.
Sorry. Hi, so what?
I'll keep you guys for the next
Thank
2
you.
hours.
I'll cut it.
I'd like to trace, first of all, how I made it here. And I was originally born in the island of Mindanao in the Philippines. The island of Mindanao is about 45 miles away from Borneo. And we are 1,100 miles away from Manila. So a bunch of my classmates from the north do not think we're Filipinos. Now, I come from an area where mostly the area have most of the Muslims in that area in the Philippines. So I understand the Philippines is a Catholic country, and that area is mostly Muslims. And also, when I was 17 years old, I went hunting into that area. I was born there, but I was not raised there. I went hunting there, and there was 5 of us with guns, and all of a sudden we got surrounded by 17 Manobo natives with bow and arrow and spears. Okay, well, we could fight, but you know, what's the point? Now, I speak their language because my father speaks that language, and when he gets angry with me, my mother, by the way, is an Northerner, so my mother does not understand that language. So he uses that language. So anyway, I started talking to them in their language, and they answered back and says, "Hey, white boy." He says, "How come you speak our language?" So I told them, I said, "Well, you know, I'm one of you." I said, "I'm a Luna." He says, "No, you're not." He says, "You got a white skin." So anyway, so he says, "We have to take you to the chief." I said, "Okay." So they took our guns, and we traveled close to 8 hours to go to their chief. We were in line, and I remember the chief was sitting, and he was just staring at me. And out of the clear blue sky, he got up, he went straight to me, hugged me, and kissed me. And I said, "What the heck is going on?" He was adopted, he was kidnapped by my grandfather when he was 5 years old. He was kidnapped from the mountains, taken back into the civilization, graduated high school, and then after he graduated high school, he went back into the mountains and ended up with the chief. Anyway, so from Mindanao, because of the Second World War history of my father, there is, by the way, a movie. It's American Guerrillas in the Philippines. The actor is Tyrone Power. And see if you guys can get that, because the last half of that movie pretty much involved my father. He refused, however, to have his name there. It had to do with 22 American Air Force soldiers that escaped Clark Air Force Base and ended up in Leyte Island. You guys heard of Leyte Island because that was where MacArthur landed when he said, "I shall return." Anyway, when they ended up in Leyte Island, incidentally, the first Onassis in the world, by the way, was not Onassis. It was a Filipino guy by the name of Don Agustin Escanio, owner of Escanio Lines. To this day, that is ESCANIO. To this date, there's 52 ships in the Orient by that company. Don Agustin is long gone. Now, it's interesting. The great-granddaughter of Don Agustin is practicing in Martins Ferry. Dr. Zhao. How do I know that? Dr. Zhao is my niece. Agustin did not have any children. He had two nephews, and one of the nephews is Monina's grandfather. And anyway, but we are poor. She's poor, I'm poor, so we hope we own some money on that. What do you call this, on the shipping company? Anyway, I ended up in this area because of Dr. Allen. And I would like to bring that out. Kenny Allen was pretty much responsible for all the Filipino doctors. Because of the shortage of physicians here, he made it to himself to recruit a bunch of us. Now, the first one, incidentally, the first one that he recruited was Dr. Ventosa. I don't know if you guys, anybody remember Dr. Ventosa? Now, Dr. Ventosa was the first neonatologist in the state of West Virginia. There was no neonatologist here. And he never practiced neonatology, he practiced general pediatrics. But he was the first neonatologist in the state of West Virginia. And shortly, while he was working with Dr. Allen needed an internist or more physicians for Reynolds. And Dr. Ventosa appointed to him Dr. Jimenez, who was, Dr. Ventosa, by the way, was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and met Dr. Allen, I understand, in one of the meetings at the Mayo Clinic. During that time, he got recruited by Dr. Allen to this area. And later on, they needed more physicians in Reynolds. And Dr. Ventosa appointed Dr. Jimenez, who was in training in St. Louis, Missouri. And I really don't know how they got in touch, but anyway, they were in touch. And so Dr. Allen offered Dr. Jimenez to come into the area. Now, after a few years, I was in Charleston. Now, I was very, very, extremely lucky. I have been very lucky here in America. I was also lucky in the Philippines, but anyway, I was giving a paper at the West Virginia Medical Association meeting in '71. And I pride myself to be the only urologist offered a job in the world while in the restroom. Between my first paper and my second paper, I went to the restroom. And who do you think followed me was Kenny Allen. Offered me a job to come to Glendale because they did not have a urologist. Well, the urologists they have here in Glendale were from Wheeling, and there was a shortage. I think there was only two urologists here, Dr. McCaskey and Dr. Trapp at the time, before they. I'm sorry, yes, thank you. Dr. Palmer, there was three of them here before we all got here. They got Dr. What do you call this, Durig and all these guys to come into the area. So I was offered a job, like I said, I pride myself to be the only urologist that was recruited while in the restroom. I was presenting when I was in, what do you call this, at the Medical Association, I was presenting paper on urethral reimplantation on children for urethral reflux. At that time, that was a big item, and just got lucky. I got recruited, and I was, it was all by luck. that I ended up with Dr. Gilbert. Dr. Gilbert, right now, the textbook in urology that is supposed to be the Bible of urology is by Campbell and Campbell. Prior to that was by Schindler. And the Schindler textbook, 80% of that was reviewed by and improved by Dr. Gilbert. And to pay him off, there was a textbook by Schindler and Gilbert, and that was the textbook in urology that we were using in the Philippines. And like I said, it was all by destiny, if you may, that I ended up, I was applying, or I was taking programs in West Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky. I always wanted to see these places. I come from the island of Mindanao, which is a combination of these countries, okay? So I always wanted to come to these areas, to see this area, and lo and behold, I applied in Charleston, not realizing that this was the Gilbert that was the author of the textbook we were using in the Philippines. Okay, to top it all, after there was a meeting, etc., and then there was a luncheon or a lunch. During the lunch, he requested that I sit in front of him or near him. He was in Korea, by the way, for 3 years. He was in the Philippines for 1 year. So he was asking me pretty much about the Philippines. And when I told him about the movie, the Second World War movie, American Guerrillas in the Philippines, I mean, he just won't let me go. Anyway, so he was, during this time, he was asking me, why did you become a doctor? Or how the whole conversation was in that regard. And I told him that I really wanted to be in the Philippine Military Academy, and I passed the examination for the Philippine Military Academy. My idea at the time was, if I graduate top 5 of the PMA graduates, I have a shot to come down to West Point and or to go to Colorado. So my direction was to go to Colorado to be a pilot. Okay, not realizing that Gilbert himself was a pilot. After lunch, he says to me, he says, Luna, he says, come with me to the airport. I said, sir, I said, I have to be in the airport. This was 1 o'clock. This was 1 o'clock. I said, I have a flight at 5 o'clock to go to Pittsburgh. He said, oh, we have time. I said, what are we going to do in the airport? He says, I want you to help me pull my airplane out. So we pulled this airplane out, and we got it out. And now the pilot in command stays on the left side of the airplane. So he had me sit down on the left side. I said, sir, I drive cars, but I've never, he says, don't worry about it. So we got up, and he showed me how to get the airplane up on the air. And, to me, it was fantastic, okay? But I didn't want to show that to him. Anyway, so we went from Charleston, we went to Huntington, we went to Beckley, and then after that, we still flew around. And then he tells me, he says, let's go land the plane. I said, so anyway, that's how I got my license to be a pilot. Ended up in Glendale. Like I said, I pride myself to be the only urologist in the world offered a job in the restroom. I am extremely lucky to be in this area. I am very happy to be here, and My wife was also saying it's time to go, but she agrees. We have
I
been-
would like to say when you're done, honey, just give me like 3
Go
minutes.
ahead.
You sure?
Yes,
Okay. He didn't talk a whole lot about his education, but I think we should hear it. He, of course, started out going to school in more rural areas of the Philippines. He passed the test at one point. They moved to Manila. His mother was a professor at the University of Santo Tomas.
my mother had 3 master's degrees, by the
Which
way.
is actually older than, the college is older than Harvard. And it is considered like the Harvard of the East. And it is also a papal as well as a royal college. It was authorized to be built and started by the King of Spain. Spain was there at the time, in the 1600s. And it was papal because it got the blessing of the Pope and whatever else that from at the time. Their medical school is excellent. He went there with some of the other classmates from around here, Dr. Mentos and Dr. Jimenez. And he, after there, he did come to the United States. They were recruiting doctors because during the Vietnam War, 60s, 70s, they were taking the doctors to go to Vietnam and the East and wherever. He came here, he went to Chicago for a year and a half. He did a surgical internship and then another half-year surgical internship. He came in January, which is like odd times for changing. They always change their doctors in July. So he had another half year there. He came to Youngstown, Ohio, where I was working as a nurse in surgery, and he was doing a surgery residency. But he was convinced and encouraged by the 2 urologists there, Dr. McConnell and Dr. Pichette.
The shit, yeah.
So look into urology. And he did, he went to Charleston and eventually we ended up there. We got married in Youngstown and then we went to Charleston. And he was recruited, that's true. The story about the bathroom is true. That's the funny part. Anyway, and then we were recruited to come here and we've been here and we have been blessed. So and he has written papers. Some have been published, a couple of speaks, and not as many as some probably. But he was also, okay. So he was the first person, I don't know if you had ever heard of F. Brantley Scott. He was the inventor of an inflatable prosthesis for men who had difficulties. A lot of them were people who had been injured in wars or accidents or of any kind, industrial or whatever. There's some diseases that cause major problems. And so he was at a meeting where Dr. Scott was speaking. He asked my husband to come down and he went for 2 weeks down to where Dr. Scott in Texas was and saw him do procedures. Plus, at that time of year, it was like just after Christmas, he was also doing patients who maybe had problems. So he got to see how the original surgery is done and how if there is a problem with any of the surgeries, what you have to do, how you have to do it, what could be done. And he brought that also to our area before they even had it in Pittsburgh. So you do have talented surgeons. And we, like I said, we've lived here all these years. We live in Glendale. We go to St. Jude Church. We're in town doing different things. And thank you all.
I was supposed to go into cardiac surgery, by the way. You guys have heard of Dr. DeBakey in Houston, Texas. His competition in St. Joseph Hospital was Dr. Connolly. I have still an unmailed signed contract to join Connolly to be a cardiac surgeon. And again, I was very lucky to end up in Charleston, and you people, I talked about Charleston. What's so big deal about Charleston? And the Dr. Gilbert was down there, and I was very, very extremely lucky to end up with him. Anyway,
Also, two of the other doctors that were urologists there, one had been OBGYN for 2 years before he went into urology, also a good surgeon. And the other one was, where was Renee? Celis. Celis was the other one.
Celis had 5 years of general surgery training in the Philippines. And then he was picked up by Bellevue and ended up in urology. And Dr. Alvear had also 5 years of OBGYN training in the Philippines and ended up also at Bellevue and all that. So these were the people that I was under. So I was extremely lucky, and then ended up, the luckiest thing is ended up in Glendale and what do you call this, Martin's Ferry. I did 100% of the work at the old, I don't know if you guys remember, how many remember the osteopathic hospital? Huh?
Yeah, it's where
Yeah,
the patient was,
the
that
osteopathic
brick
hospital.
building there. Yeah.
I did most of their work because of Dr. What's his name? That's
Oh, let me think.
anyway. This dog osteopathic physician was in Chicago when I was in
Meanwhile?
Chicago. Huh?
Dr. Menoir?
Menwar.
Yeah.
He was in Chicago when I was in Chicago, and I heard of him. I really did not know him, but I got into town here, and lo and behold, he was here, and he recruited me to join the what do you call this, staff. And so I did mostly 100% of the Moundsville Osteopathic Hospital.
Can I say one thing about you, sir?
Sure.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
You're gonna, I also worked at Reynolds for 40-some years. I worked beside the guy, although he was a physician, I was on the administrative side. Like I say, I've never met a more sincere down there physician. I give him credit for that. Now, the story is though that when I first came to the Valley, which was in the 70s, the administration wanted to get camaraderie between the hospital staff and the physicians. We were invited to play a basketball. All right, so I'm in my mid-20s, taller than my opponent, maybe playing a little rougher than I should, and I charge the lane, do a layup, make a point. Maybe a little bit more rougher than I should have been. So someone takes me aside and says, "She's a black belt in karate." So the rest of the game, I shot 3 pointers.
I had my second degree black belt in jiu-jitsu before I left the Philippines. And I was one of the, we trained, you have your FBI here. We had our NBI there. And I was one of the trainees, or I was one of the trainers at the NBI. And it was funny because I passed by there one day and I was asking questions. And some of the guy says, "Gee, have you met that doctor that was here? There was a black belt and went to America." I said, "No, don't know. Don't know." Incidentally, I also hold, by the way, the highest rank in martial arts, I guess in the world. I hold, I am the only member of the Dragon Society in martial arts, so be careful.
But it's a different part than, it's called Pukulan. It's partly Indonesian, China, and a little bit of mixed other stuff.
Can we see some?
Yes.
Sure. What do you want? I'm all for it. I'm a black belt, I didn't get that.
Anyway, it's 1:10. I better let you guys go. Thank you.
Who wants to stand up? You can leave. You don't have, everybody doesn't have to stay.
So what?
I'll show them, I'll use you. I went because I go over here in the middle where everybody can see. One of the things that I wanted was something, so like if I'm out somewhere alone and go in here or somebody tries to grab my purse or something, come here. Come here. And somebody comes at you like from the front. That's not true. A lot of the fighting, you all know different fighting styles. I'm sure you've all seen it or movies or whatever. They come in long distance with long punches and high kicks, but we don't. For ours, it's, well, there's some other things, but mostly close. And people are not used to somebody fighting close all the time. I think there's more of it now than there used to be. For someone that doesn't.
I better cover myself.
No, the other one, come here. It's strength. You have to have a certain amount of strength. But what I found it built is confidence. I know what I can't do, but I also know a few things I could do. And the one I really like best, you don't have to be real, if they're coming at you this way, you go inside, you step on his foot and push back on his knee until it breaks.
Oh.
And then he falls down and you can run away. Like I said, this, something you want to do in ours is survive. You don't get points for hitting them 10 times in the chin, you get them for getting there.
What a great team. I was gonna say, thank you, Juno, but thank you, Nancy. That was great for both of you. Everybody have a wonderful day.
Yeah, real quick. I just got a text from Brianna. We need $12.75 left to raise for Rise Against Hunger.
Oh, you get 7,500 or whatever it is.
Yes.
You
$1,275.
Response.
Yes.
And thank you for having me.
What's going on, sir? How you been? Good, you? Good, good.
Great to see you.
Doing well? Pretty good, we're staying busy. How about you? Good. Good, man. Yeah, I'm busy, speaker taxes.
I'm sure it's a very busy time.
Hey,
Yeah, has Matt contacted you guys yet?
I haven't gotten the calls from him yet, but we do have more.
Oh, okay, I'm glad you said that. He said last week, we do like a weekly conference call.
Yeah.
Every Thursday, he said last week, he asked me to send, because I have your business card, he said, can you take a picture and send it to me? I need to get your contact. So if he has, I'm sure he will, but I'll remind you of that.
Yeah, remind me just so I can get you on the list there. We can, get taken care of there.
We just closed on that business last Friday. Yeah. I'm trying to get that, all the licensure and financials and everything. For that. But yeah, I'll talk to him today. I'll let him know.
Yeah, so that way we get that all done. What's the filing a 3D filing for S corps and partnerships?
Can he just call you directly? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you call me anytime there. Yeah, I'll get him in and we'll get things taken care of.
Everything else good?
Yep, pretty good. What are you gonna say? Still dealing with,